podcast lighting
And
situation.
you look like you're recording a video from the cell of your captors, asking the American government to rescue you.
Uh, the American government, yes, wonderful. Oh, hey, speaking about which, I think we know about this, right? There was a basketball player being held in Russia that
Yes.
was traded for some criminal, and
Yes.
one could say that the basketball player was also a criminal breaking drug rules or whatever.
Well,
But us in the United States, we don't care about that
I mean,
anymore.
the story
Well, do we?
there. The reason why Brittany Griner was detained by the Russian government is because, and this is a story that I heard, she had a vape pen that had cannabis oil in it. And
Uh,
if you talk to some other people, granted, voices that are very skeptical of the Russian government, that is not true. And they just used that or used her as a tool to get this guy that they wanted back from the US.
I would say that now, granted, Ben, you and I grew up in the 80s during the Cold War, but
Yep.
I would say that Russia doing something with an ulterior motive, quite possible. I would not be necessarily skeptical of someone who claims that that is the case,
Yeah.
especially in dealing with international politics and all. But my question is, I do not know this. I'm hoping maybe you know. Is she back in the United States now? Is that gone through? Is it okay? Good.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Yeah. I mean, I think she's in the States. I know she's not in Russia. I saw footage of her on a plane leaving Russia. I don't know if she's, and this is quite a while ago, so I'm sure she's back home,
Yeah.
wherever home is for her.
But much like sports in general, um, you know, I think of her as art us. Like we got her back. I didn't do anything,
Yeah.
but nice.
I mean,
Nice to have someone back.
it's been interesting watching the right-wing media machine sort of break down, because universally this has been they always talk about politics in terms of wins and losses, right? This was a big
Yeah.
win for Biden, but then you hear that you hear some of the Fox News personalities and the like say that we gave up too much for Brittany Griner.
Hmm. And would
And-
would if Brittany was it Grind? How do you
Griner.
pronounce?
Griner. Griner.
Yeah. See,
Like a
and here's the
grinder
thing.
without the D.
Yeah, that's what I was checking. I don't know much about Brittany Griner, right? Basketball player, I know.
WNBA All-Star.
Yeah. So, I don't follow sports that much, but this is a case of it's a United States citizen
Yeah.
being held in a foreign country. And
For
you-
maybe dubious purposes, right?
yeah, exactly. You and I have talked about this in the past, and let's face it, we're both left leaning, right? I have occasionally on this program taken a more right view in order to make some sort of dialogue, so it's not just you and I going, yeah, man. Of course it became ludicrous. I still remember at one point in time Stephen McCandless calling me out of the chat going, oh yeah, maybe let's say fascism is bad or something. I forget exactly what it
Yeah.
was. But I feel as though, as someone who grew up, in basically not, I mean, Illinois is not a red state, as we know, but the rural areas of Illinois they are not as red as they used to be, but they are still pretty red. I still find it insane that there are people from around here who grew up the same time that I did with all the same stuff, who are aligning themselves with a real estate guy from New York City and the Russians. That those are it is incredible. And just it shows how propaganda works, because impossible. If you showed this future to them in the past, they would go crazy, I think. Go kind of nuts.
It's baffling to me, because you have these, people from middle America, salt of the earth, kind of real Americans, very, conservative, very religious, maybe, also probably remembering the Cold War of the 1980s, with flying their Trump flags because they think he speaks for them, this rich guy from New York City. New York City?
Exactly. Get the rope.
Yeah.
Still one of the more sinister. Still one of the more sinister things. And for those of you who don't know, because again, Ben and I are talking. We grew up in the 20th century. It's now the 21st century. There is a commercial for a salsa, pace picante sauce, and there are a bunch of people, and they're arguing about the fact that they're eating salsa that was made in New York City, and then everyone shouts New York City, and then at the end of the commercial, you see a guy saying "get rope," implying that they're going to hang the person who gave them the bad.
Yeah, they're a bunch of cowboys sitting around a campfire eating their paste picante sauce that's made in San Antonio, and then somebody's like, I got this other stuff that's made in New York City. And then, they're going to hang that dude at the end of the commercial. But going back to the Trump supporters who are, it's like baffling that they're supporting this dude from New York City. I also saw a picture of one of these trucks, like a giant American flag, giant Trump flag hanging out the back, and is it a Z? Is that what the Russian tanks are?
Oh yeah,
the emblem on the Russian tanks that are fighting in Ukraine. Yeah, these Midwesterners have this Russian Z on their trucks.
It's nuts. The same thing also with the supporting of the police. I know this sounds weird, but at the time when I was growing up, the country folk around me were driving around in these up cars, and outrunning the police was one of the things that they liked to do.
Yeah,
it was fun for them. Dukes of Hazzard was really big at the time. I think that might be part of it.
Drunk is with us, and he just said he had a frozen Emos for the first time ever. Worst pizza he ever ate.
No, Drunk, say it ain't so. Somehow I'll tell you this. This is something that, again, Drunk will understand. Ben, it may not be as relevant to you, but I had some Ted Drew's frozen custard the other day that actually somehow survived the freezing process. I don't know what they did to it, but for a while you could not buy frozen custard in the grocery store because there was some sort of a crystallization thing that happened that made it bad. This is back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Now,
so they only sold it in the store.
Problem.
They only sold it at a Ted Drew's, and you couldn't buy it like a Safeway or something.
Well, they had it in the store for a little while, but nobody bought it because it wasn't as good as when you got it.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Did it have that like old ice cream?
The sort of grittiness.
Ice. Yeah.
I'll bring this up as well. I've mentioned it several times, but there's a mental issue going on, a false narrative, an alternate history being stated by Dairy Queen, that the whole thing where they turn the thing over like this. I don't even know the name of the thing that they turn over.
Blizzard? Is it a blizzard?
Might be the blizzard. That might be how they do it. Ted Drew's was doing that when I was a kid in the 80s.
Yeah.
Dairy Queen was not doing it at the time. Now they are, and they say we've always done it. No. And I search the audio. I've mentioned this before.
I always kind of giggled whenever when I saw the commercials in the Dairy Queen. They were like really proud that their ice cream wasn't falling out of the cup, or when I would actually be in the stores and somebody would. I never got it myself, but somebody would get it blizzard, and the person would be like, "Here you go."
How
And turn it
old were
upside
you
down.
when you saw that?
Oh, this was like back when I was a teenager. This is ages ago.
Okay.
I don't know your timeline because I never saw any Ted Drew's commercials, but I do know that Dairy
Yeah.
Queen has been doing that in at least the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay. I don't know. Drunk will back me up on this. Ted Drew's is doing it before. Well, maybe Drunk will back me up on this, but Ted Drew's is doing it before Dairy Queen. This is all I'm saying.
Look it up.
Nobody. Yeah, don't write us. Or actually do. Yeah, write to us at bensemail.com at gmail.com. Or, wait, no.
Oh, no, it's Ben.
Stop. Ben's email at yahoo.com at gmail.com.
Yes.
All right. Or call us at, let's see, what is it? What's the
God,
numbers?
don't even call us anymore. I'm done with that.
Okay. All right. Don't call us. You'll never find us.
You'll never find us. After being brigaded that one time, I'm kind of trigger shy and handing out the phone number.
Yeah.
Drunk asks if Dairy Queen even still exists. Dairy Queen does exist, but only in the more rural aspects of neighborhoods, at least up here in the Northwest.
Yeah, Drunk, there's a Dairy Queen in Edwardsville. Actually, there are two Dairy Queens in Edwardsville. No, not really. Drunk will understand this too. There's a Dairy Queen in Edwardsville and a Dairy Queen in Glen Carbon. As you know, the urban sprawl between Edwardsville and Glen Carbon have joined, and now it's just all like kind of like
joined like a bunch of like neurons making a connection. Yeah. There was a Dairy Queen down the street from the house I grew up in Lacey, Washington, that was themed like a 1950s restaurant. And it had like the jukebox and like the color scheme that made it look like, I don't know, kind of like what Johnny Rockets is doing today, right?
Yeah.
And that 50s themed Dairy Queen, back when I was going to it in like 1988, 1989, it was like only a 30-year pastiche. Now, if I went to a Dairy Queen that's the same like 30 years, it would be like a mid-90s era Dairy Queen.
Isn't that crazy? That is a little nuts. Oh, hey, speaking about mid-90s, Ben, I got
speaking about little shoes. Nuts. Yeah.
Hey, wait, hold on. Check it out. Can you see them?
I used to have a pair exactly like that. Those are just like slip-ons that are black and white checkered.
Vans, Ben.
Yeah.
I've always wanted a pair of Vans for the longest time. If you were wearing Vans and you weren't a skateboarder, it was you were posing. And so I never got them. But now I'm almost 50. I'll be 50 in May.
And you don't care about posing.
I can just have some Vans. Yeah. Also, I got a series of platforms for Christmas.
A series of levels, Jerry. I'm building levels.
They're trapezoids. There are 3 of them. And the tallest one is probably like, I don't know, 2.5 feet off the ground, maybe something like that. And so, yeah, it's to jump onto.
For indoor exercise?
Yep. Right now they're in the kitchen, and I can be really big when I'm standing on them. It's pretty great.
Drunk is leaving. He's got to go. Say goodbye.
Bye, Drunk. Drunk, one of our few viewers who interacts with us. Stephen McCandless, again, kind of the third member of the podcast, really, if you think about it. Less a fan, more of a staple, if you will.
More of a put upon viewer who likes to point out how hostile we are to our audience.
Exactly, and I can say I can't fault him.
Yeah,
it is actually true. Oh, here's something I've been doing. I've been trying to memorize
my lines for this play. I've been
music. Like I've been trying to memorize like the lyrics and the chords. to stuff.
Yeah.
Normally I read the chords, and I've just started getting better at figuring out what it is that I'm supposed to do. Does that make sense? So it's like, here, I have my ukulele here.
Zoom is just crunching this.
Doesn't like it?
Zoom doesn't. I don't have the audio setting for music.
Oh, but anyway, so it's so you think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from pain? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail, a smile from a veil? Do you think you can tell? Is that cool? I can do that now. I've got it in my head.
So you've memorized the chord progression
and the lyrics together, like as a unit. So if that makes sense, like when I know to go to G when I sing pain.
Yeah.
That's
a new skill that you've developed?
It may not seem like a big deal, but
is that why, like, when we would play music at Spin the Bottle, I remember, like, when we were doing Nana's Muff for the first time, and you were on the accordion, you would stop playing.
Yep. Exactly.
I was actually just watching that video. I don't know why I saw that video recently, but there's a very moment that I specifically remember because I'm up there playing my guitar and you're on the accordion, and I noticed that you stopped playing, so I just like turn and just stare at you, just like willing you to just keep going because I was not good enough on the guitar. I needed the accordion to cover up my fuck ups. Oh crap!
Yeah,
my mistakes.
And I wasn't good enough on the accordion that I couldn't sing and play at the same time. But yeah, so that's the key, is that you memorize them as a unit.
Yeah,
and it is funny. We did play multiple times on Spin the Bottle, but yeah, I've just sort of gotten that. You have to be. It's like, if you do it like a TTRPG, you have to be a high enough level at music and a high enough level at singing to kind of bridge the two of them together. You you can't think about what your fingers are doing. It gets there eventually.
Never the singer, yeah. So all my brain was doing was thinking about where my fingers were going.
Although one of the songs that we do, and I forget. Oh, it's This Is Me, This Is My House. I was like, I think you did the music of one of our better songs, in my opinion.
No, you did the music. I just sang.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
was that? No, I think that was just a single take of me singing "This Is Me, This Is My House" throughout the entire thing. I was wondering, did we loop that? But nope.
And you have the thing, and this is my. There are a couple of times where
this is me. This is my house.
This is my house. Oh, hey! By the way, did I mention that we did karaoke? Did I mention that?
No, you did not.
Yeah, we did karaoke at City Museum. They had karaoke night. I did karaoke by myself. Well, with other people, but by myself. And then we went back. And it was me and Jennifer, and we did great. People really liked us. The last thing I ended on was Super Bon Bon. They had it.
Nice.
And I had the entire place like doing this. And I even embellished a little bit. So at the end, I was going, "To that fat you must cut lean. You gotta take the elevator to the desert," like that kind of stuff. And everyone liked it.
I was asked recently if I can't remember exactly how the question was phrased, but it was something like, if a gun were placed to your head and you had to sing a song like spot on to get out of it, what would you sing? And I at first I was thinking of like maybe anything from Soul Coughing, because I think I can sing in Mike Doty's range.
Yeah.
But the one I landed on was
not that high a range. Sorry, Magda.
The one I landed on though was the Humpty Dance by the Digital Underground.
Oh wow, yeah. I don't know if yeah. Also, I want to just point out. You said if a gun was placed to your head,
just on its side.
I thought you said if a gun replaced your head, and I was thinking of that all the way through. I missed kind of what you were saying, but I'm back now. I got it.
Isn't there a cartoon villain, I want to say like either in The Tick or in something else, where there's a mobster that does have a gun for a head?
I believe so. I don't know where it's from. Yeah. Of course, there's Chairface, and we all know about that.
Right, yeah.
And we know why the moon says cha, which is also really nice. Those of you listening aren't familiar. Chairface was going to carve his name into the moon, but he was stopped.
With a laser? Yeah.
Yep. Stopped, and so the moon just says cha. And from then on, the moon says cha, which is really nice.
Well, I appreciate that level of consistency the same way I appreciated all throughout BoJack Horseman. The Hollywood sign is missing the D, and it just says Hollywood, because in I think it might even been in the pilot where the D is stolen.
Nice. There's a running joke in that we did something similar to. And that's the thing where, so I think it's a cake, but it might be something else where people are explaining to the people what they want, either on the cake or the poster or whatever it is, and then but that becomes part of it. That's where Ben's email at yahoo.com and gmail.com came from.
I mean,
was BoJack Horseman out before then or not?
Oh yeah. I wasn't thinking specifically about BoJack, but like that's one of my favorite running gags of BoJack, was that the directions for a sign or for a cake made it into the cake. Like, happy birthday, Mr. Peanut Butter. Peanut butter is one word, all on the banner.
Yeah. And so the thing that Ben and I used to do, it was with URLs. That was the joke, and we kept on trying to make it into something. We never really hit upon it for how to make it into a sketch. But the idea was, the URL was GudeLaurance, all one word, but the URL was actually GudeLaurance, ALLONEWORD. And just how difficult it would be to explain that. So yeah. Anyhow, that's something that Jennifer always gets on me about, but I still think it's important. We've talked about this before in the past, Ben, about how there were many things that we had the idea to do, and then we didn't do them because someone else had done something similar.
Yeah.
And the concept, the thing that she would say was, it's not the same thing, you guys. It's its own thing. You didn't know about this, you should do it. But we were, again, gun shy would be the word for it. We were gun shy enough that we were like, no. I don't remember many of the things that we didn't do, but there were several things that we ended up not doing.
I had a spin the bottle-esque dream last night where you and I were playing in an elementary school, and we were playing music, and I had my little drum kit, and we're walking through the halls, but it's a hall full of bands, right? And there are students who are playing the drums, and they're just great at it. And then we're like, oh man.
Yeah. This is the story of our lives. Again, I don't know. I mean, Really, I think honestly, it's Reggie Watts. The more I think, I mean, there were a couple of times, there were a couple of other times where someone did something and was like, oh, okay. But there was a time when Reggie would sometimes show up at Spin the Bottle, and we would always go, don't go before us. Just as long as you don't go before us, everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
But it was really good, really amazing. He's a wonderful performer, nice guy too. That was the other thing. We ran into him sometimes in Seattle, and he'd always stop and say hey and things like that, which is really cool.
Yeah, I've enjoyed seeing him pop up in various places. I think I mentioned this on a different episode. I was watching a documentary. The thing is, I don't remember which one it was, but he was interviewed for this documentary. Because he seemed to be like an authority figure on whatever they were talking about or whoever they were talking about, and I wish I could remember what that was.
Well, was it? Do you know if it was entertainment?
Oh, it had to be.
Like some sort of a music thing. I remember he was in the Yes Men, one of the Yes Men movies. You remember the Yes Men?
Yes. I remember it being a thing. I don't think I ever watched them.
There was a thing about like the idea is that these people are watching this guy being interviewed, and he wants to be part of something lasting. And the guy is Reggie Watts. He's a janitor, and they end up putting him into candles. And the idea is that the people who are watching the thing are holding the candles that were made out of this guy. And this guy being Reggie Watts. So we knew that it was fake. Not just because we were members of the audience, but because we had seen Reggie. And so we knew that he, A, wasn't a janitor at this company, and B, was still alive.
Right.
So that's kind of fun.
I'm looking up his IMDb credits.
IMDb thing?
IMDb is frustratingly not user-friendly these days.
Oh, really?
Oh, they keep redoing their UI, and so now I have to constantly search for, like, where's the button that expands his credits, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah. One thing that I do know is on the mobile version anyway, once you have his credits open, you can search within the credits, which is nice. You weren't able to do that before.
There's a few things that it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like Zoom. Every time Zoom comes out with a new update, it seems to be a lateral update, because then they've also removed something that was useful.
Yeah, lateral is a good way to describe it. I like that. So I think this is going to be the setup, by the way, what we've got going on here.
Yeah.
Seems to be all right. I might try to get better lighting eventually, but
you don't think the prisoner look is a good one for you?
Oh no, it's nice. It sets a tone. You're in a theater, I'm in a prison. It's very, very nice. I will say this. As a child growing up, I grew up in Dorsey, Illinois, which is a very small town. You can look it up. I was talking to Jennifer about how my dad would sometimes be in the kitchen and look in the binoculars at cars that would drive by, and how I felt like maybe, okay, so I don't know if did you read a lot of books when you were a kid?
I wouldn't say a lot. I read, an average amount of books when I was a kid.
So just like there are Harry Potter things, and kids want to know what houses they're in and stuff like that. When I was a kid, there were a lot of books written for kids where it's like Firestarter Not a book for kids, but Firestarter, Girl with Silver Eyes. The Stranger Things is actually a great example of this sort of genre, where it's the kid who is either an alien or a government experiment or whatever, who has superpowers. Escape from Witch Mountain. Uh,
Yeah.
you know that see you're secretly a superpower person, and the government or the Knights Templar or whoever are keeping you under lock and key. So you're the chosen one, like in Harry Potter, but you're kind of a bad chosen one. They want to keep you from your destiny or whatever, because you're psychic, or again, actually belong on a space station, whatever. So when I was a kid, I was adopted. I was living out in the middle of nowhere. And I was reading all these books about, these kids. So I was like, oh, this makes sense. And this, if you watch Glitch in the Matrix, this sort of comes out. There's a lot of stuff. I would say this: Glitch in the Matrix has maybe 20% of all the things that me and the director talked about.
Right, of course.
And everything in it is true and stuff that I've said, but there are other things that are left out. And one of the things that was kind of left out was the idea that, the reason that I thought that I was in this, place, this sort of prison thing, this sort of weird Truman Show-esque kind of situation, was because I was special. I was special in some way. The reason I didn't know who my parents were was because they were aliens, or I was made in a test tube, or I was a robot, all those sorts of things. And the reason I was living in Dorsey and couldn't go anywhere was because they would have to create that stuff, that the world that I was in was limited for a reason, because they had limited resources, that sort of thing. And, part of this is going to sound weird, but I feel as though if my parents had been more upfront with me, that paranoia would have gone away a little bit.
What does that mean, being more upfront with you? Upfront in what way?
I was looking for, I wanted to reconnect with my biological parents. They said that they were interested in doing that. And my parents were like, well, they say that they're interested, but they probably have lives of their own and children of their own, and they probably don't want to know, you're going to be interrupting their lives, and you should really think about that. So that didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
There were things that I did, like when I was in college, or not college, sorry, when I was in high school, I went to did they have anything like this in Washington? It's like a high school theater festival where all the theater kids in high school would go to a place and watch plays and stuff.
Not in my district.
They had one in Illinois, and I went to the Second City thing, and it was great. And I was like, Mom, Dad, I know what I want to do. I want to go to Second City. I want to go to Second City and learn comedy and do sketch comedy and all that. And they said, well, that probably isn't going to work out. You probably can't do that. And so,
not very supportive of you, it sounds like.
There's a lot of stuff that I suspect happened that I don't know. And this is the thing, is, I could just be paranoid, but I believe that they at times screened phone calls that were for me.
Yeah.
Took mail that was sent to me. They most likely spoke to authority figures on my behalf. Things of that nature. As I get older,
bordering on like helicopter parenting.
Right. Well, and part of it was, of course, the fact that I was not neurotypical. they have this weird situation where things had to be normal, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with you. They would say that often, but also I had to be managed.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't drive, but they kept putting me in cars and I kept on getting in car accidents. But if I'm not driving, then that's not normal. So I need to know how to drive. Luckily, I mean, eventually I just through sheer survival instinct, maybe, or maybe I just got better at it. I don't know. Um, I can, I don't like driving, but it's easier for me to do now.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. Um, but, but yeah, I mean, for a while. So the basic thing is just that, um, their reluctance to give me certain freedoms played into this idea that and not telling me about stuff. Like I remember specifically, there was a time where this guy named John called, who was a friend of mine, and my dad told me about this later. He told me, my dad told me that he pretended to be me when he was talking to John on the phone because John was drunk. I was in high school at the time, and he didn't think that that was right. And so he was keeping him from talking to me.
Right.
And just that, the idea that he at one point in time impersonated me and intercepted a call, set every other interaction that we had in question, basically. So weird stuff. I don't remember how we got on this topic. Thank you for listening. Obviously,
I don't recall anything like that happening to me when I was growing up. My parents would not impersonate me on the phone. In fact, my parents were sort of the opposite in terms of not being like overprotective. I remember this one time I was in middle school and I wanted to change homerooms, and it was like the orientation day. And so we're like a bunch of kids and their parents are going to the front office to manage.
Can I ask why you wanted to change? Was it because a friend of yours was in a different
to be with
homeroom,
friends? Or? Yeah, it was to be
okay.
with friends. And I think there was a teacher I didn't like was who I was originally assigned with. I didn't want to be with. Let's pretend it was Mr. Swan. I don't know if it was Mr.
Okay.
Swan, but I wanted to change. And so my dad and I are there at the middle school, and I'm like, can I change homerooms? And he's like, sure. And then I just got to stand there waiting for him to go in and do it for me. And he just stands there and he goes, go on, go do it. And so I'm like, I guess I have to. I guess you're not going to do this for me, so I have to. So I did. I went into the office and I requested a homeroom change, and it actually worked out. And that's a bit of a. It's a story I tell to a lot of people to illustrate like how I wasn't necessarily left alone as a child, but I also wasn't like helicoptered either.
Yeah, I mean,
even though at times I probably wanted to be.
the way that you describe it, it seems right. You know what I mean? Like he didn't drop you off at the school and then drive away.
Yeah.
You know, or anything like that. He let you do stuff. I occasionally do stuff like that with Betty. Like now, right? I'll give her $5 and I'll say, go ahead and buy the thing, just so that she has that, interaction kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I like Jennifer and I have talked about it. She's not comfortable driving.
Right.
I think we're not going to make her drive. I think we're going to once she gets out of high school, where we end up living is going to depend a lot on can we live somewhere where she can be near us, maybe in the same house, maybe an apartment, whatever, but also take public transportation.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. We are not gonna kick her out, when she turns 18.
No, of course
Some
not.
parents talk about doing that, like, and people that we know, because it's good for them and they need to know how to do stuff and all that. I honestly, I mean, Betty doesn't listen to this, so it's going to be fine. But I see myself as being responsible for her until I am dead. And even then, you put things in place to, help with that. But that sort of thing. Like what I mean by that is I've never, and this is something that my dad talks about with my sister, who, I don't think should be living at their house. It's just his deal. The difference is Betty's character is high enough that I don't think she's going to start.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Doing things. Yeah. Exactly. So, we'll see though.
I know it's weird. It's weird because people have. I mean, I'm not being a parent. I don't know how valid these thoughts are, but different people have different thoughts on how best to raise a child. And some parents. I actually don't know anybody who has specifically stated once they're 18, I'm kicking them out of the house. All of my friends that I know who are parents are like, they can live here as long as they want. Chances are they will want to leave at a certain point.
See, I think what it is that what you're experiencing with your friends and with me, and I'm one of your friends, obviously, is this is our reaction to the way that we were raised.
Yeah,
a lot of it. I don't know if you experienced the same thing, but Jennifer and I talk about it a lot. Like, I remember me and my friend James walking on a frozen pond in the springtime, like kicking, like, stomping on it and listening to
daring the ice to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And where were you, and like walking through a muddy field and losing my boot in it and trying to pull it out. I remember being in the woods, swinging on a grapevine, or whatever.
A grapevine?
Well, I don't know. There's some sort of vine. They call them grapevines. I don't know if they really are. Swinging out, holding on with gloved hands, the gloves slipping off of the thing, and me just crashing into a thorn bush.
Oh yeah, I climbed to the very tops of like 75-foot trees to where you could feel it sway back and forth.
Yeah, and just I mean, that's just stuff that we did. The whole coming home and not. Jennifer, I talked about the difference between my style of latchkey kid and her style of latchkey kid. My style being, I'd come home from school on the bus. No one would be around. The key would be on the dog's collar. I'd let myself in, all that kind of stuff. Versus cooking dinner for your siblings and stuff, like things that I did not do. But even the minor version that I went through, we were left to our own devices much more than kids these days, at least as far as I know.
Like, when it got dark, I just had to be within shouting distance.
Yeah. We talked about this too. Skills that we need to bring back for our young people. When you go somewhere, say if we get separated, we're going to meet back here at this time.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And the idea of not knowing where someone is for a period of time is frightening now.
I would disappear for an entire day, and I'm such a paranoid person that if I were my dad, I would have hated that.
Yeah.
But also, going back to like how our generation's parents, or our generation as parents, like, you friends of ours who have kids, how they're more lenient about having their kids stay with them past the age of 18. I think one of those reasons might be it's a lot harder to live on your own these days. I mean, back when we were 18, you could have a part-time job and an apartment.
Yeah, which yeah, exactly. Not possible. Not possible now. Have you ever? This is gonna sound weird, but when you went to China, were you on a boat?
For part of it, yeah.
I was just I have a okay, so this is a Christmas present that I got. It's 1,000 places to see before you die. Now, as you know, I notoriously don't like to travel, but I have been reading it, and this is the way I worked out. I got this from my brother and his wife, and I realized that if I read about 3 places a day, by the time we would go around to next Christmas, I will have read the book. So that's what I've made myself a commitment that I'm doing that. Right now, I'm reading a lot about Great Britain. And one of the things is that I didn't know this. I now know that when you're on a paddle steamer or whatever it's called, you can get from Liverpool to Boston in about 7 days.
Okay.
I didn't know that that's how fast I went, but it's true. And so this is gonna sound weird, but
that does sound very fast.
Jennifer, and so as you know, my contract runs out in May.
Yeah.
For my job, which I don't think I've ever mentioned on the podcast, and probably shouldn't have mentioned. Dang it. I think it's fine, because you don't know where I work or who I work for, and blah, blah, blah. But that's what it looks like is going to happen. Is I may need to, either get a new contract with the same company, or look for other work, whatever.
Yeah.
However that ends up working out for me, I still in the back of my mind, a weird, crazy possibility is Jennifer moves to Australia with Betty, and then I catch up with them. And one of the things that I keep thinking about is that you can get on a freighter or a cargo ship for cheap and go with them, to your destination.
Get there in 3 months.
And and this was the crazy thing is I was saying to Jennifer, I don't know if I trust anyone enough to put myself in that situation, because when I'm with this group on this boat, anything could happen. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know, I could be murdered, or
we're in international waters, laws don't apply.
Exactly. And she looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like, maybe this is an example of my. So here's my question: if you had and she was like, what benefit would then she tried to logic it out with me. What benefit would they have to murder you? What would that gain them? All that kind of stuff. And I was like, maybe they just like to kill. And she's like, okay, no, this isn't helpful. Would that be a concern of yours at all?
I would not be concerned. I would not be concerned about getting killed. There are other things that would concern me, but being the subject of a brutal gang-style murder in the middle of the sea would not be one of them.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen, but it is something that I like, if this makes sense. I like the everything maritime I enjoy, like anchors and posts with rope around them, water, the smell of the ocean, all that stuff. I really like it.
The smell of the ocean is pretty great.
I am very afraid of drowning.
Yeah.
So those two things together make for an interesting, kind of situation for me. And I feel like this is why I'm drawn to lighthouses, because when you're in the lighthouse, you're inside for sure, but you're very boat adjacent.
Right.
It is the marrying of the sea and the land in a very and the sea, the land, and the indoors in a very specific way.
There's this famous painting photo of a lighthouse. I don't know if it's like in Europe somewhere or like off the east coast of the States, like outside of Boston or something. But it's a rock, and it's got this very tall lighthouse on it. So it's not on land. It's on basically an exposed rock.
Yeah.
But there's a huge wave breaking against the back of it. Right? And so the wave goes all the way up to the top. You can see one dude, he's just like standing on the dry side of it. And what I think of when I see that picture is, how the heck did they build that there?
Interesting. Yeah. There are two structures. You might have even seen them when you were going across the bridge on the river. There, I forget exactly what their function is, but they look kind of like lighthouses. They're in the middle of the river, though.
Which river?
And the Mississippi River.
Oh, okay.
And they're not really used that much anymore. But I've always wanted to go and look inside of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to see. But apparently they're only accessible by boat, and only a few people are allowed there now. But it is one of those things of like, if I were rich and influential, that might be something that I would use my power to do, just to go
live there.
Go places where I'm not necessarily supposed to be.
Every once in a while, the city of Seattle gives out a grant for an artist to take up residency in the Ballard. I think it's the Ballard Drawbridge, or maybe the University Street Drawbridge, or it's the Fremont Bridge. Yeah, so one of the drawbridges that we have in town have the towers on either end. I think one is just where like the person is who controls the bridge, but they allow an artist to take up residency in the other one to create something. I think it's pretty open-ended, but yeah, you get to like live there, or at least work there. I don't know if they're like sleeping quarters or anything.
That would be cool.
But that seems like a fun sort of like out of the ordinary place to be.
Definitely, that would be really cool. And so, really, I mean, 2023, Ben.
Just around the corner.
Just around the corner.
Or if you're listening to this after Saturday, it was a couple days ago. So
this is going to be a weird question. The next presidential election.
Yeah.
That would be next year, right?
24.
Around this time.
Well, I mean, it all depends on
the campaigns would start or whatever.
Well, I mean, they start earlier and earlier every cycle.
Yeah.
But I think a year out is when they start going in earnest.
So, I'm not going to make any predictions yet, but I really think I would love for this to happen. I don't necessarily know that it's going to happen, but I would love for there to be someone who somehow transcends the ire of, both parties and is a dangerous centrist. And everyone's like, oh, I guess I'd like him. And all the extreme people are like, no.
That is definitely not going to happen.
This is horrible. But yeah. There was a. Do you remember Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams? It was on Prime Video, a TV show, kind of like.
I haven't seen all of it, but I did watch some episodes.
Did you see the one where there was an election for the candidate? It was. I thought it was great. One of the sort of subplot of it is that there's an election coming up for a candidate.
Yeah.
There's just one candidate running, and the candidate gives speeches and all that, and they talk about the importance of voting to show your support of the candidate. But you're just choosing one person and voting for them. And it was nice. It felt a little too real, Ben.
Yeah, well, we have gone into the theater of the absurd when it comes to national politics.
It is going to be interesting. As you know, I am not on social media.
I do know this.
I have not been for a while. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm not privy to. It'll be interesting to see how my views about the election are going to unfold with that as a thing.
Here's something that just happened recently. Let's do Paul gonna guess the news.
Oh, that sounds great. It's a good way to end the episode, Ben.
In our remaining minutes. Greta Thunberg recently had a hand in having a human trafficker arrested. How did that happen?
Okay, so let me first Greta, last name again?
Thunberg, that Swedish
Greta
climate
Thunberg.
activist.
Yeah, she's a climate activist.
It's Thunberg, but it's pronounced Thunberg.
Thunberg. One of the things, obviously, when we talk about autistic people, she's mentioned as one of the more famous ones.
I didn't know that.
That's how I know about her a little bit. Okay. So this is human trafficker.
Alleged. No charges have been.
Alleged human trafficker. She is a climate activist. She is a public figure. Okay, this is going to be a stab in the dark. Did someone provide her with correspondence between a group of people or some sort of evidence of ecological wrongdoing, and bundled in with that something about human trafficking that she discovered and brought to the attention of authorities?
Not really.
Okay.
This is a bit of a hard one. If you don't already know the stories, chances are getting to it by way of my clue is going to take a while.
Okay. Was she part of was there a plot to kidnap her?
No.
That was the other thing I was thinking. Okay. No, let me know what it is. I don't know this.
So there's an influencer by the name of Andrew Tate. Have you heard of this guy?
No.
He's an influencer. He's like a
he sounds like a white guy. Is he a white guy?
He's not. You know what? I don't think he is. I think he's got some either Latino or South Pacific in him. He's not completely white.
Interesting.
But he's also like a men's rights mogul. Like, you can buy his course to learn how to be the best man that you can be. Basically a scumbag.
So not a white guy, but white guy adjacent. Hey everybody,
yeah,
Paul
white
Gude.
guy adjacent.
How's it going? I apologize to.
He recently posted a video. I don't know how this started, but this is where I picked up the story. He posted a video directed to Greta Thunberg where he was showing off all of his cars. He's got like a Bugatti. He's got, some Ferraris, a Porsche. He's kind of bragging that he's got all these cars. He doesn't care about the environment. The environment can go F itself because he likes driving these V8s. She clapped back at him and on Twitter, and basically just kind of like insulted him in her Swedish way, and it was something like, it's some sort of fake email address. Your tears don't mean much to me, but if you can cry to my email address, blah 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 at IHaveASmallDick.com or whatever. He proceeds to post another video to her, like, I haven't seen this video, but he's again, like, he won't let this drop. And he's like still bragging about how much money he has, how many cars he owns, how he doesn't care for the environment. In this video is a pizza box of a Romanian pizza place. And then after that video is posted, the Romanian police, now confirming that he's in Romania, go to his house and arrest him for human trafficking, he and his brother.
Okay. So what you're saying, if I've got this right, is that there are human traffickers who have been exposed on the internet, and the way that they've been caught is that they are associated with a pizza place. So there is an actual thing that could be called Pizzagate at this point.
Actually, yes.
If the name wasn't already taken.
The pizza place, well, actually, you know what they're calling it? His name is Andrew Tate, so they're calling it Pizza Tate.
Oh my gosh, Ben, that is wonderful. My apologies to all the white people for assuming too much that a men's right activist whose name was Andrew was a white person.
I mean,
I could have just let it go, but I do think that assumptions can be made that are unfair, and my hope is that we all learned something here today, Ben.
And with that, I think it's time to say our goodbyes for this week and for this year, Paul. This is the last time we'll speak in 2022.
Let me just say, Ben, that doing this podcast with you is great. It's one of my favorite things about the week. I look forward to it as one might look forward to Christmas, as we're doing this. So. Yeah. I wish you many happy returns, and I look forward to speaking to you in the new year. And thanks to all of our listeners now and in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for all of those.
Again, like I said, most of our fans are going to be, Ben, we will maybe be old enough to see it, but this podcast is really going to take off when we are too old to do it anymore.
Right. One of these days, we're the Picasso of, not the Picasso, we're the Van Gogh of podcasts.
That's right. That's right. All right, Ben. I'll talk to you more later.
Keep it wrong, Paul.
Keep it wrong, Ben.